My name is Maya Delacroix. I'm 36, and my whole life has been about walking roads no one believed I could walk. I grew up on the south side of San Antonio in a working-class neighborhood where every overdue bill was a family emergency. My parents ran a tiny repair shop, fluorescent lights, always flickering grease in their fingerprints even at dinner. I'm the oldest of 3 sisters. When Mom picked up late shifts, I was the one cooking dinner, checking homework, even slipping my babysitting money into the grocery jar when no one was looking. I learned early if I wanted a different life, I had to build it myself brick by brick. After graduating from culinary school in Houston, I dove into restaurant kitchens. Long hours, low pay, no vacations, no trendy clothes, just burnt fingers and dishes that had to be perfect. But I kept grinding. At 28, I opened my first restaurant, Delacroix Bites, a taco joint, where the brisket line wrapped around the block every Saturday morning. From there I grew. A burger bar, a brunch cafe, a pizza and wine spot downtown. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. My little empire. I paid off my student loans, helped my parents when their shop hit hard times, and even covered my baby sister's college tuition. Then, at 30, I bought my first vacation home, a quiet 3-bedroom perched on a hill in Driftwood, Texas. It had a wraparound porch and views of sprawling oak trees and amber fields. It was my dream. A place where I could sip coffee without hearing a kitchen ticket printer. A place to rest. A place to invest. I had made it. The girl who once shared a mattress with 2 sisters now owned a house with a stocked fridge and peace that stretched beyond the walls. I didn't know then it would become a battleground for betrayal. I still remember that Sunday night. The air was thick and sticky in my parents' kitchen in San Antonio. The scent of grilled ribs lingered in the air, and the TV murmured in the background. My younger sister Elena collapsed into a chair, her eyes red and swollen. "We got evicted, Maya," she said, voice cracking. "We've been sleeping in the car for 3 days." She wasn't alone. Her husband Ryan stood behind her with that same smooth charm he always wore, part apology, part performance. This wasn't the first crisis. They'd blown through 3 apartments in 2 years. This time, it was missed rent 3 months behind. Their Wimberley landlord finally kicked them out, and now they were parked in an old SUV on some side street. I hesitated. My vacation home in Driftwood was sitting empty. I had plans, minor renovations, repainting, maybe new carpet. It wasn't move-in ready, but it was clean and safe. And then my mom chimed in, soft voice, watery eyes. "Your house isn't being used yet, right, Maya?" Elena looked at me with quiet hope. Ryan nodded eagerly. "Just 6 months," he promised. "We'll pay for utilities, mow the lawn, fix anything that breaks. You won't even notice we're there." In my head, I said no, but out loud, I said yes. I handed them the keys with firm instructions, 6 months. No rent. But they'd handle the upkeep and let me know about any problems immediately. Elena threw her arms around me, whispering, "You're saving our lives, Maya." Ryan flashed that bright smile. "We owe you big time." And for a moment I felt proud, like I'd made it far enough to give back. What I didn't realize then, what I couldn't possibly know, was that those 6 months would stretch into 7 years, and that one generous nod would become the worst decision of my life. The first few weeks after Elena and Ryan moved into the Driftwood house, I honestly felt like I'd made the right call. They invited me over for a couple weekend barbecues. We grilled cheap burgers under makeshift string lights on the porch, swapped childhood stories, laughed about Mom's infamous casserole fails. For a while it felt warm, familiar. Elena posted photos on Instagram, one of Ryan tending a tiny herb garden with the caption, "New beginnings, grateful." I remember smiling when I saw it. They really did plant herbs, basil, mint, even some chives. Ryan even repainted the living room in a soft gray and called it a thank you gesture. They texted me little updates, a leaky faucet fixed, the attic cleaned. It all looked right. By month 3, Elena beamed and said, "We've already saved up $5,000. We're so close to getting our own place." I felt proud, like I was giving them something stable to build on. But my best friend Madison, who also managed my brunch cafe, wasn't so convinced. One morning over coffee, I mentioned how Elena had been saving up, and Madison raised an eyebrow over her latte. "They're nesting," she said flatly. "6 months is plenty. Don't let them settle in too deep." I laughed it off. "They're family, Maddie. I want to help." She tilted her head, voice firm. "Elena has always been chaos, Maya, and Ryan, he's slick, too slick. Don't let that smile fool you." Deep down, I knew she wasn't wrong, but I wanted so badly to believe Elena had changed, that she was learning how to stand on her own, that my help was the boost they needed. I didn't know then that those grateful hashtags were just a glossy cover for a plan I couldn't yet see. Month 6 arrived faster than I expected. I called Elena to ask about their moving plans. Her voice dropped. "Rent's insane right now," she said, avoiding eye contact on FaceTime. "We just need a little more time. Maybe 3 months. Promise." Ryan jumped in smoothly. "We're almost there, Maya. We just don't want to rush into something awful." Something tightened in my gut, but I nodded. 3 more months, I said, trying to sound firm. That's when things started shifting. The next time I visited the house to grab a few documents from my old office, I stopped cold in the doorway. The living room wall, which used to be a soft beige, was now a blinding teal blue. No one had asked. No call. No heads up. The heirloom wool rug my grandmother gave me was gone, replaced with cheap laminate flooring that buckled at the edges. I tried to keep my cool. "Elena, what's going on with the wall and the floor?" She shrugged. "Just some cosmetic stuff. Makes the house feel more like home," Ryan added with a smirk. "We're increasing the value, right? You'll thank us later." I forced a smile, not wanting to start a fight. But from that moment on, the house no longer felt like mine. That night I scrolled through Elena's Instagram. New designer handbags, a gleaming espresso machine, dinners at upscale steakhouses. And I found myself asking, where is all this money coming from? I didn't know yet how deep it ran, but my gut was finally starting to scream. It started with an email that Monday morning. I was sipping coffee in my office above the brunch cafe when I saw the subject line, "Thanks for the amazing stay at your beautiful Airbnb." It was from a guy named Tom, and the attached photo showed my living room. I nearly dropped my mug. Airbnb. Hands shaking, I opened the Airbnb app and typed in the Driftwood address. There it was, charming hilltop getaway, hosted by Elena and Ryan. Photos of my living room, my kitchen, my backyard, now featuring a hot tub I'd never even seen. They were renting out my house for $200 a night, with 47 glowing reviews calling them super hosts for their warm hospitality and luxurious amenities. I sat in stunned silence, scrolling for hours. I cross-checked booking dates with old bank transfers Elena had once asked me to look over for tax help. Every deposit lined up $50,000 funneled into their account, washed through as business expenses. And I had unknowingly helped. One review mentioned an epic birthday party in the cozy basement, the basement that had never been remodeled. What had they built without my knowledge? That evening, I drove straight to Driftwood. The skyline faded behind me as I pulled up the hill. When I knocked, Elena opened the door with a too-sweet smile until I held up my phone with the Airbnb listing. "What the hell is this?" I said, voice shaking. Ryan appeared, instantly slipping into charm mode. "Maya, we just needed extra cash to fix the place. It's no big deal." "No big deal," I pushed past them, my heart pounding. The basement had been sliced into 2 makeshift bedrooms with cheap drywall already peeling. The backyard hot tub was leaking into the grass. The hardwood floors were scratched, and the ceiling showed water stains. They hadn't just betrayed my trust. They turned my sanctuary into an illegal hotel. And I knew in that moment I couldn't stay silent anymore. I thought the Airbnb stunt was the final straw. Turns out I hadn't seen anything yet. 3 days after confronting Elena and Ryan in Driftwood, I got a call from my bank. A calm, professional voice came through the line. "Hello, Ms. Delacroix. We're reviewing a mortgage application connected to your Driftwood property, and we need to verify a few details." I froze. "What mortgage application?" I asked. There was a pause. Then the woman spoke clearly. A $200,000 loan was filed under the names Elena Delacroix and Ryan Grant. The ownership documents list them as property holders. We flagged it for irregularities and paused the process. I couldn't breathe. I asked them to send me everything. When the PDF landed in my inbox, my hands were shaking. Forged signatures, fake documents, a full-blown identity fraud package claiming my house under their names in an attempt to pull a $200K mortgage. They hadn't just betrayed me, they were trying to steal from me legally. I sat in stunned silence. Images of Elena as a child flashed through my head, the little girl I rocked to sleep during thunderstorms, the one I made grilled cheese for when Mom worked night shifts. I'd believed for so long that being generous, being family, would be enough. It wasn't. I knew I had to confront them. Not with rage, not with screaming. I wanted this clean, controlled, witnessed. So I planned a dinner at my apartment. I invited everyone: Elena, Ryan, my parents, and my youngest sister Jules, the only one I still hoped might be on my side. I made lasagna, set the table with care, played soft jazz from the speaker. But inside I was steel, because I knew this dinner would shatter every illusion left. Dinner began in silence. Elena and Ryan were 30 minutes late and brought Tiffany with them, that loud-mouthed best friend I never invited. My parents embraced Elena like she was the one hurting. Jules sat quietly, eyes down, saying nothing. I served the lasagna, poured the wine, and then placed my phone on the table. Calmly, I pulled up the screen and turned it toward them. "Elena, Ryan, this is my house on Airbnb. You've been renting it out for 18 months, made over $50,000. You built unauthorized rooms, installed a hot tub, repainted walls. And then you filed a $200K loan application using fake documents." I slid a copy of the bank letter across the table. No shaking hands, no raised voice. Elena barely flinched. She twirled her fork like we were chatting about the weather. "You're overreacting, Maya. We just improved your house. It's worth more now." Ryan leaned in, eyes cold and unapologetic. "We've put in $300K worth of upgrades. You either reimburse us or split the house." I let out a dry, bitter laugh. "You lived there rent-free for 7 years. You made money off my back. And now you want a cut." Tiffany burst out laughing. "God, Maya, you're really something. They poured their hearts into that place. You're just hoarding wealth." I turned to her sharply. "Tiffany, you're not family. Stay out of this." She shrugged. "Someone needs to say what you won't." My mom reached for Elena's hand, her voice trembling. "Maya, honey, you've done so well. Can't you help them a little more?" Dad nodded in agreement. "Family doesn't keep score." I stared at them. They didn't see betrayal. They only saw me finally saying enough. I turned to Jules, my voice pleading. "You've been to the house. You've seen what's going on. You know, right?" Jules kept her eyes down. Her voice was soft. I didn't know about Airbnb, but there were always people. It didn't feel right. Tiffany jumped in, smirking. "Oh, come on, Jules. Don't play innocent. You were at those parties too." Jules flushed red but said nothing. Elena leaned back, icy and firm. "We've lived there for 7 years, Maya. It's our home now. If you kick us out, we'll sue." The air turned solid. I stood heart pounding. This isn't help anymore. It's theft. And I walked to the balcony, leaving behind a family I no longer recognized. The next morning, I sat across from Madison at my brunch cafe. The place buzzed as usual, orders flying and ticket bells ringing, but all I could hear in my head was, "They're going to sue me." "They're screwing you over," Madison said bluntly, stirring her coffee. "Elena's always used you. Ryan's manipulative as hell. You need a lawyer now." She referred me to Gregory, a no-nonsense attorney who had handled her divorce. I met him that afternoon with a file folder full of documents, house photos, email printouts, bank statements, the letter from the loan officer. He flipped through everything slowly, quietly. When I finished, he set his pen down and looked me in the eye. They violated property laws, building codes, and there are clear signs of fraud. He started by drafting a 30-day eviction notice. We need documentation, everything, photos, receipts, neighbor statements. They're going to fight dirty. Gregory also arranged a full inspection of the property. The report was brutal: leaking hot tub with faulty wiring, mold in the basement, exposed electrical circuits, and cracked foundation from shoddy plumbing work. All of it done without permits. This isn't an upgrade, Gregory said grimly. It's a legal hazard. I mailed the eviction notice by certified mail. 3 hours later, my phone rang. Elena screaming, "You're seriously evicting us." Then Ryan came on, his tone sharp. "You'll regret this. We've got rights, sweat equity. We're not leaving." I hung up my hands, shaking, but Gregory remained calm. "Let them rant," he said. "We have evidence. They have nothing but lies." I spent the next week gathering everything. Closing day photos, before and after shots, texts from Elena promising to move, emails from Ryan saying they were saving up, a written statement from the neighbor. Every document, every screenshot was another brick in the wall I was building to protect myself. 3 weeks after mailing the eviction notice, I got a call from Maria, my longtime neighbor in Driftwood. Her voice was tight. "Maya, there's a moving truck at your place. They're ripping things out, including the hot tub and kitchen island." I jumped in my car and sped over. When I arrived, Ryan was barking orders at movers, pulling out chandeliers, basement windows, even the stair rails. Elena stood with her arms crossed like she owned the place. I blocked the moving truck. "What the hell are you doing?" Elena flipped her hair, smug. "We paid for these upgrades. They're ours." Ryan held up a stack of receipts, eyes cold. $300,000, Maya. Once it's installed, it's still ours. I shot back, voice tight. "No. Once it's attached, it's part of the property. You're stealing." Tiffany, of course, was there, filming on her phone like it was reality TV. "Let's go, Elena. Give her a show." I called the police. 2 officers arrived, calm but firm. They made Ryan and Elena stop immediately. I called Gregory, and he filed an emergency court motion to prevent them from removing or destroying anything else. The judge granted it, but the damage was already done. Exposed wires hung from ceilings. The kitchen island was half ripped out. The basement reeked of mold. The backyard hot tub left behind a muddy crater. On day 30th, they were still squatting. Gregory coordinated a formal eviction with deputies. Elena cried, mascara streaking. Ryan muttered threats under his breath. I stood on the porch, arms crossed, as they were escorted off the property in front of watching neighbors. Weeks later, they filed a lawsuit claiming $300,000 in sweat equity. But Gregory was ready. In court, he laid out everything: before and after damage photos, code violation reports, Airbnb records, forged loan documents, Maria's written testimony about loud parties, strange guests, and nightly chaos. Elena cried on cue. Ryan tried to act polished. But when Gregory asked, "Did you have the homeowner's permission to list on Airbnb?" Elena froze. "Did you obtain permits for your renovations?" Ryan mumbled, "We didn't think we needed to." The judge didn't say much. Stern face, fast pen strokes. Illegal actions do not grant property rights. She dismissed their case and ordered them to pay me $50,000, exactly what they earned from Airbnb. I didn't feel rich. I felt vindicated. Justice finally had a voice. After the court ruling, I stood inside my Driftwood house, feeling both empty and unbearably heavy. The walls carried scars of 7 years of betrayal, peeling paint-gouged floors, and a lingering moldy smell in the basement. I called in contractors for a full inspection. They didn't sugarcoat anything. The electrical work was a tangled web of exposed wires. The outdoor hot tub wiring was unstable, one surge away from a fire. The cheap plumbing had cracked the foundation and soaked into the drywall. "You're looking at least $100,000 in repairs," one contractor told me. I had 3 options: sell it as is and take a loss, fix it and sell, fix it and rent. But every time I walked through that front door, I saw ghosts, not the kind from movies, but memories. Loud parties, silent betrayals, fights I never asked for. I couldn't imagine anyone else living here without knowing what it had been through. So I decided to restore it. For me, I hired the best contractors I could find. They gutted the basement, rewired the house, replaced the plumbing, and re-poured the foundation. They sealed water damage, repainted every room, and filled in the muddy crater where the hot tub used to be. 8 months later, the house was reborn, new hardwood floors, modern kitchen sunlight pouring in like forgiveness. But my heart still ached. I listed it. Within a week, I had 7 offers. I sold it for $600,000. I didn't throw a party. I donated $50,000 to a nonprofit that helps women start businesses. Women like me who had to choose between family and freedom. The rest I kept, for me, for no one else. And as I signed the closing papers, I realized something. I didn't lose a house. I lost the illusion that kindness guarantees love. I started therapy a month after selling the house. Madison referred me to Deborah, a sharp therapist with a soft voice and eyes that saw through me. I walked in exhausted, not from losing, but from winning too many battles alone. "You weren't just hurt," Deborah said in our first session. "You were assigned the role of the strong one." That hit like a punch, because it was true. I had believed that if I just gave enough, helped enough, my family would see. But they didn't want to see. They just wanted me to absorb it. Deborah taught me something I never learned growing up. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're protection. I wrote that down, underlined it, repeated it until my heart stopped rejecting it. I also joined a support group, people just like me. A sister who lost her house to her brother, a daughter disowned for standing up, a woman called cold because she finally said no. Their stories echoed mine. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I stopped apologizing for protecting myself. I started writing not just blog posts, but the rough draft of a book about rebuilding trust after bloodline betrayal. Elena called once. I answered, voice calm, "You can rebuild your life, but not with me." She never called again. My parents were more persistent. Voicemails stacked up, some full of guilt, others of tears. "She's your sister, Maya." I met them once, hoping they'd finally listen. They didn't. "You already have so much. Why couldn't you share?" She didn't mean it. I stood up feeling strangely light. I didn't need their validation anymore. Jules was different. She started visiting every week, bringing takeout, showing me her grad school notes. One night she cried. "I saw everything. I was just scared. I let it happen. I'm sorry." I held her. "You're here now. That's enough." Slowly, I started having something like family again. Not because we shared blood, but because we chose each other every day. We had dinners together. No shame, no manipulation, no bitterness. A year after the eviction, I hosted a small dinner in my apartment. No long tables full of fake hugs or manipulative advice. Just Madison, Jules, and a few new friends from my support group, people who, like me, once had to choose between bleeding for family or saving themselves. We laughed over slightly burned lasagna and charred garlic bread. No one was performing. No one was sacrificing. Each joke, each story layered new bricks into the foundation of trust I was slowly rebuilding. I looked around the table and realized I hadn't lost a family. I had simply reselected one, this time with clarity and mutual respect. The house in Driftwood once symbolized success. It whispered, "You made it." And when it crumbled, so did I. Not because of the money, but because I had tied my worth to what I gave others. I was wrong. I learned this. Kindness is not obligation. Forgiveness does not require reunion. And real family never makes you feel like an intruder in your own life. My blog keeps growing. Strangers still write. Your story gave me the strength to leave. I said no for the first time because of you. I keep writing, not to explain myself, but to declare myself. My name is Maya Delacroix. I once believed the wrong things. I once let people cross every line. I once thought endurance was love. But now I know boundaries are love turned inward, and freedom is the gift I gave myself.